Somebody's getting it, somebody's getting my love. Somebody's getting it, somebody got it. Somebody got
Hi, I'm Pouyan Shirzadi,
And I'm Kiran Kilambi.
and you're listening to the Court Podcast. Today on the Court Podcast, we're discussing the Western Conference standings. So without no further ado, let's get into it. So Kiran, who do you think is going to be the first place team in the Western Conference this season?
I think the first place team is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. Now,
Okay.
at the moment, they're 5.5 games up from the Clippers, and unless something goes terribly wrong in Orlando, they should keep that number one spot, even if they win, half of their games.
Yeah, I agree with you. The team is overall healthy, and I don't think the loss of Avery Bradley for the rest of the season and Rajon Rondo till later in the playoffs is going to be any issue for them. They got Alex Caruso, Quinn Cook, JR, Dion Waiters, and Danny Green already and set to go for those guard positions. And I feel like a gray-haired LeBron, as DeMarcus Cousins said it on Jalen and Jacoby, is going to carry that team well into the playoffs. And, they got a lot of experience, a lot of veterans, more than any other team in Orlando. So, yeah, for those reasons, we both think they're going to be in the first place.
Lots of
So,
veterans, including the Henny God.
Yes, Henny God, J.R. Smith. So who do you think is going to be the second place, Karen?
I think the Los Angeles Clippers are going to be in the second place.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're 5.5 games back. I just don't think it's realistic for them to get into that first place spot. But they are, without a doubt, arguably the first or second best team in the conference. And I think that they should continue to play well and not really change in the standings and finish in second place.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this one as well. They're a close second, and if Kawhi is healthy and everyone else is healthy, they'll be ready to ball out in Orlando. I also think, the short-term loss of Montrezl Harrell won't be too much of an issue for them. They got a lot of backups, a lot of small forwards and centers who can play that position. JaMychal Green, Marcus Morris, Joakim Noah, Paul George, Kawhi, they can all cover for that position on a short-term basis, so I feel like they'll be just fine. And yeah, so Kiran, who do you have as your third spot team in the Western Conference?
I have the Utah Jazz as my third spot team. Now,
Ooh, controversy.
obviously, they were the team that really, really messed everything up as Rudy Gobert got the coronavirus first, and then all hell broke loose. And since then, they had a chip on their shoulder. I think that, they're going to be rejuvenated going into Orlando, and whatever problems Gobert and Mitchell have with each other, I think it'll be fixed, and
Yeah.
they're going to be motivated, and I think they'll end up in third.
Well, I disagree with you, Kiran, on this. I think it's just going to stay as the Denver Nuggets, mainly on the fact that besides chemistry issues, like if their team chemistry stays the same, but also the fact that Bojan Bogdanovic isn't there. He's injured, and he's a key member to their team. I don't know if he plays the six-man role or the starting small forward. I don't know if it's him or Joe Ingles, but they're both very important to that team. And if one of them is gone, I'm just wondering who's going to cover that position. I know the addition of Jordan Clarkson has been helpful to their team, but they still need Bojan to take them that extra further step into the third spot. But I think the third spot is going to be the Denver Nuggets, mainly on the fact that, Jokic has lost a lot of that weight. We got skinny Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of great young players. That means they're going to be healthy and they're going to be ready to go. They'll play some extra minutes if needed to. They also have some great veterans to help out, such as Paul Millsap. And even though I think it could be a hard challenge for them to go further, but I still think there'll be any challenge for any team that will verse them. So yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, in the fourth spot, Kiran, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder as underdogs, and I think they will sneak into the fourth spot, mainly on the fact that I feel like them and the Rockets are both going to have the same record, but the Thunder are going to win based off a tiebreaker, based off head-to-head. I feel like Shea Gilgeous Alexander, our hometown boy, Canadian, yes, sir, with Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari and Steven Adams and Dennis Schroeder as a sixth man. They're gonna take the OKC Thunder to the fourth spot, and I feel like they can take them to a conference semifinals as well. But we'll get into that later. But that's who I have in the fourth spot. Kiran, who do you have as your fourth spot?
I have the Denver Nuggets as my fourth spot, and like I said, I don't think that they're gonna finish as high as Utah will, but who knows what will happen going to the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. In the fifth spot, as I said, I feel like it's going to be the Rockets just based off them losing the tiebreaker. But they're the most hit or miss team, in my opinion, going into this Orlando bubble. Because I believe they can this whole small ball lineup is either going to go really well and take them further, or it's just going to blow up in their face. But personally, I'm going to just go with they're not going to go as far as the other teams. And yeah, for that reason, I have them in the fifth spot.
And I too have Houston in the fifth spot. And, obviously if Harden and Westbrook are both able to play, then they should win their first round series and have a shot at a deep playoff run. But I think that between them and Oklahoma City, I think that they're a better team, and although they have the same record right now, I think they'll end up on top once this Orlando mini season ends.
Okay. So next up in the sixth spot, as I mentioned before, I talked about the Jazz. I have Jazz at the sixth. And also, I just want to add this as a side note before I get to your opinion, Kiran, on who do you think is the sixth place team. I believe the Jazz are going to have the worst record going into this bubble. Like, in my opinion, they're only going to win 2 or 3 games out of the 8. So that's my opinion. But who do you have as your sixth place team?
In my sixth place spot, I have the Dallas Mavericks. And right now they are right behind Oklahoma City and Utah. And sorry, not Utah. Well, actually, yeah, Utah, but they're right behind Oklahoma City and Houston. And I think that this team is sneakily a really good team if Kristaps can play it at a higher level. And we all know what Luka can do. And obviously, Tim Hardaway's not bad also. But I think that Dallas can get that sixth spot and have a decent shot at a playoff run.
So, Kiran, you think the Dallas Mavericks are going to sneak up into the sixth spot and the OKC Thunder are going to go seventh?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, listen, they're a good team, and we all know, they surprised everyone this year, but I just think that they were on a roll, they were really moving up right before the season stopped, and as Houston was going down, I don't know if they can continue that pace after this 3-month restart. Like, they were playing great ball, before this all happened, but obviously there's a break.
So in the sixth spot, I already talked about Jazz, but I have the Mavs at seventh, and Mavs is honestly my favorite team in the Western Conference. And the only reason I have them in seventh is not because I think they're going to lose, because I think they're going to win 4 to 6 of their matches. But my only issue is that because they've played more games than the other teams that have the same amount of wins as them, so teams between the fourth and the sixth spot have the same amount of wins as the Mavericks, but the Mavericks have played more games and have lost those games. So their win-to-loss percentage is lower than them, and I feel like that's just going to set them back no matter what, so they're going to stay in the seventh spot. But if they go further, I wouldn't be surprised if they go up to fourth spot, and I would be ecstatic. But I think that's the only reason they're going to be seventh. But I feel like with Kristaps already having more than enough time to recover, and he's already shown that he's going to play as that guy, and as he knows how Luka is going to play, them two together healthy with Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., Boban, and everyone else, they're going to take this team further than what we expected them earlier this year. And besides that, I feel like the only hit they've taken is the loss of Dwight Powell, but I don't think that'll be too much of an issue for them. And yeah.
And also, I guess here's a bit of a fun fact. According to ESPN's BPI advanced metric, the Dallas Mavericks have the number one offense in the conference. So that should be interesting going forward.
That's just too much statistics, Kiran, for me, man. I'm not all about those advanced statistics. In my opinion, there's some stuff that these statistics don't show, but that is a cool fact, Kiran.
I mean, they're
But I
flawed,
think
but it's just a cool fact.
Yeah, but I think it's mainly based off the fact that they've scored the most 3-pointers as a team.
Yeah.
They've hit the most threes as a team in the league, so I feel like that BPI stat is just saying, you know, they're more efficient and like they're better at hitting threes than the other teams. But yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's telling because they're quite a bit higher than the Lakers and Clippers. I mean, both of the Lakers and Clippers don't have a rating which is at least 4, and Dallas is at 4.8. So I mean, this could translate, you know, well into the playoffs. But obviously, you know, it's not all about offense. You gotta have defense if you want to win a championship. And I mean, they're defensively, they're not nearly as good as the Clippers and Lakers. So
yeah. So 8th spot, Kiran. This is the spot where everyone is talking about, and this is the spot why there is the teams between 9th and the 13th place in the Western Conference there. Teams such as the Kings and Suns that haven't made the playoffs in the past 10 plus years. But in the 8th spot, Kiran, who do you have?
I have the Portland Trailblazers. Now,
Thank the Lords, Kiran. Thank the Lords. Great minds think alike.
Yes, sir. Great minds think alike. Now, at the moment, you know, they are not in a playoff spot, and Memphis is in that 8th spot, although there is a playoff for that 8th spot. I think that they're going to hop them, and not only hop them, I don't think there's going to be necessary to have a playoff because I think they're going to come out really strong, and I think Dame's going to continue where he left off and play arguably the best ball of his life, which is what he was doing before the stoppage. And I know I may sound like a hypocrite because I said that Oklahoma City could not benefit from the stoppage after playing very well before the stoppage. And now I'm saying that Portland is not going to miss a beat. But Dame, you know, fresh off getting that 2K cover, I think he's going to be rejuvenated. And
yes,
I think that they're going to, you know, they're going to make the playoffs.
I agree with you on the Trailblazers making it. This is the thing. I love the Grizzlies. I low-key want to see them in the playoffs, but I feel like they have more than enough time for this team to make the playoffs in the future. But the other reason is that the Trailblazers, let's not forget, the Trailblazers almost made the NBA Finals last year. Mm-hmm. They were ahead of the Golden State Warriors at halftime in all
Every
4 of their games.
Game. Yeah.
But they just somehow managed to lose it, and I don't blame them. You know, their team was tired. They possibly played the most games out of any other team in the playoffs at that point. They had a 6 or 5th game series and then a 7-game series against the Nuggets. And, you know, they're just very experienced. You know, both CJ and Dame are in their prime. You know, Yusuf Nurkic is finally back from that gruesome injury he had. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we don't know how this team is going to perform with Yusuf Nurkic in it, plus the other additions that they've had. So, you know, Melo is playing great with this team. And, you know, Hassan Whiteside and Collins and Anthony Simmons are great other players that they have that can prove themselves during this Orlando bubble. And it's just based off the fact that they have more experience than the Grizzlies, and you just can't count them out. You know, you can't count Dame out. Dame is one of the best point guards in the league, if not the best.
Yeah.
Yes, if not the best, he is one of the best.
And you know,
yeah,
we know what Dame and CJ can do, but look at this story. If Carmelo, you know, if he's rejuvenated with this break and he ends up, you know, being a legit number 3, then Portland could go far, and that would be some story.
I don't see this team as a number 2, number 3, number 4 guy. I feel like on any night, any person can be a number one guy. On any night, any person can be a number two guy. Because they got so many players that are like that. You get what I'm saying? If Dame isn't on his shit that night, then CJ is going to be on his shit. If CJ isn't playing that second spot correctly, Yusuf is going to come in. Or Zach Collins is going to come in. You know?
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's with everyone on that team. Same shit applies to Melo. And I also forgot to say, I know the loss of Rodney Hood is bad, but I feel like Trevor Ariza will try to cover up for that defensively, and I feel like Anthony Simmons would cover for that offensively. But yeah. And I believe that the Trailblazers are going to possibly have the chance of winning the most games, just because I feel like they all want that playoff spot so badly. They're going to be really hungry to get it. So I feel like they would either win between 4 to 7 matches.
Yeah.
And I think the Grizzlies can win 4 matches as well. But,
yeah. I mean, Portland's schedule, it's not easy, but
yeah,
they're going to be
definitely
playing
not the easiest.
They're going to be playing teams like the Celtics and the Clippers, who they have their playoff spot basically clinched already, and they like you said, they're going to want it more, simply put.
Yeah. And I just want to make it clear as well. I think the Trailblazers are going to make it through a play-in spot, whether they'll be actually at the 8th and the Grizzlies at the 9th. But I just believe that's how they're going to get in, and they're going to win 2 matches.
Oh, yeah.
If
Portland and Memphis have a playoff, I guess to see who will get that 8th spot, I think that Portland's definitely going to win.
Yeah. Now, before we end off the podcast, we're going to talk about a little bit on the other teams that we think they're not going to get into the 8th spot or the 9th spot for the play-in tournament. So we talked about the Grizzlies and the Trailblazers. Now let's get into the Pelicans, Kiran. So I personally think the Pelicans are not going to make it, not because I think they're bad or anything like that. I feel like they're just too young, and as much as I would love to see JJ Redick's playoff streak to continue, I just don't think they can do it without Zion. We don't know how long Zion's going to be gone due to his family emergency, but even if he comes back, he needs to quarantine, and after that, he needs to get into shape again, even though he's already into shape, and just fit in with the team and play. How about you, Kiran?
I mean, right now they have only one less loss than they have one less win than Portland does. So anything can happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, not having Zion is a big blow for them. And this team is very young, and Drew Holiday and Lonzo, if they take a step up, and they have a shot. But I just don't think it's possible.
They got a lot of talent. I just feel like Zion is that just one extra piece that could boost them all the way up. And I feel like with him just being partially gone, it's sort of an issue.
Yeah.
Next on the standings, these are not standings by us. We're just going by whoever's 10th to 13th based off current standings. We got the Sacramento Kings, and I'm not even going to get into it. No offense, they got a great team. I just don't think they're going to make the playoffs because of the other teams. I feel like the Spurs and the Pelicans have a higher chance of making it than the Kings.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean,
so yeah.
Like Sacramento right now, they are ahead of the Spurs by half a game. So I mean, yeah, they technically do have a better record, but I just on paper and just in general, I just don't think their team is as good. But
I agree. And Spurs, I love the Spurs, but Bid LaMarcus Aldridge being out, getting his surgery for his injury. I don't know. I think it's a leg injury. We wish him a speedy recovery. Same with Bojan Bogdanovic as well. But I feel like that's just a huge blow to the Spurs right now. And even if they had him, I think it would have been difficult. But I just don't think they can do it without him. But who knows? Mm-hmm. They might just sneak in. And lastly, the Phoenix Suns. I love Devin Booker. I love Kelly Oubre Jr. I love Aaron Baines. I love Ricky Rubio. I love... is Dario Saric still there? I think Dario Saric is still there. I love all of them. But that team is just not a playoff caliber team. And I honestly don't know why they put them in. It's just no disrespect. I feel like it's technically impossible for that team to just make it.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I mean,
but for those reasons, I just don't think they're gonna make it.
It'll be nice to see Booker play a bit more, But it's just tough to see them.
I do think for all these teams, it's great to just put out some young players to see how they can develop. Maybe at the beginning push for it, but if slowly it just seems to fade away, play some young players, see who's going to be, a great role player, who's going to be a future star for your team.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
And I think that's it for today, Kiran. To all our fans, we'll be releasing new content. I think the scrimmages are being aired. If the scrimmages are being aired, we'll talk about that. Talk about some of the news that happens in the NBA after this. But yeah, thank you for listening. Kiran, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, very much looking forward to when the season restarts. I mean, I hope they'll be able to air some of the scrimmage games because
for sure. I'm craving some basketball content.
Yeah, like even if they don't count, I mean, that'll be great to see.
Thank you for listening again. I'm Pouyan Shirzadi.
I'm Kiran Kilambi.
And don't forget to like and subscribe, and also have a great day.